to Climate Action with Net Zero Homes, a podcast brought to you by Schneider Electric, dedicated to achieving net zero goals and building smart and sustainable homes. We speak with global CEOs, industry analysts, innovators, and energy optimists to tackle the biggest sustainable challenges we face at home by leveraging smart technology and digital innovation.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Climate Change with Net Zero, the podcast that explores homes of the future. I'm Manish Pant, and I drive sustainable smart home innovation at Schneider Electric. Today, I'm very pleased to be joined with Nicolas Banchet, co-founder of ChargeGuru and CEO of Zeplug. Nicolas and his team at both companies have achieved impressive results. Their service is implemented in more parking spaces across France than the total number of electric cars on the roads today. Welcome, Nicolas, and congratulations on your achievement so far.
Thank you. Pleasure to be here.
So why we are here with Nicolas today is both of his businesses are focused on making EV charging accessible to homeowners. For those who live in multi-story buildings or live in individual standalone homes. The reasons these two companies are so successful is that Zeplug, which is focused on multi-story buildings, is investing in all the required infrastructure, whereas the EV owner is only paying for the service that they end up using. And this is really a win-win. At the same time, ChargeGuru is a platform which is providing 5-star experience to customers who are looking for simple and smart charging and reliable charging for solutions in their single-family homes. So today we'll be talking really about this exciting topic, the shift to electric vehicles and how growth in this sector can help us achieve the net zero goals. So let's dive right in, Nicolas. How are you today?
Well, I'm fine, thank you. The business is good too, although it's made tougher by the pandemic. It's interesting to notice that this pandemic has really shifted gears when it comes to people's sustainability effort. We've seen a lot more interest of people in sustainable technologies, services, products, and of course it includes EVs. And the electric vehicle market has really taken off over the last 12, 18 months. So we've seen a lot of new players enter the market. And of course, innovation is really thriving, and it has become a key differentiation factor for the different players.
Indeed, EVs have been really a very big talking point at this point of time. So we are very curious to know how this newfound interest has impacted you at Zeplug, because your business is right at the center. And also to know, has this pandemic been a turning point for your business?
Well, it's true to say that it's been a real acceleration for our development. Our sales have been multiplied by 4 in just 1 year. And there is a clear consumer desire to shift to electric vehicles. That's clear. But the market is quite diverse. Apart from northern countries, which have been ahead of the rest of the world for many years, we see big traction from France, Germany, for instance. I really think regulations across the continent are playing a big part in this drive. If you look at the European level, a new stringent regulation is now in place to limit CO2 emissions down to 95 grams of CO2 per kilometer. And it is very, very demanding for automotive OEMs. And most countries have already announced that they would ban sales of fossil fuel cars by 2040. Then looking at the pandemic, the world shutting down has really offered once in a lifetime opportunity to stop, to reset, and rebuild green. If we take France as an example, the country's taken the opportunity to push EV adoption last year, offering a reinforced bonus for buying EVs, but also incentives to support the charging station acquisition.
True, and you know, first, congratulations on the growth of your business. And it's really great to see this accelerated drive to electric vehicles as we drive towards the net zero goals as well. It's time for us to change and move to more sustainable ways of living that don't cost the earth. When it comes to EV and the cost of ownership, what we read is that there's going to be a parity in terms of cost between EV as well as internal combustion engine cars as soon as 2023, which is one of the reasons why experts are really predicting a boom in EV adoption in the coming 3 to 5 years. And at that point of time, probably there's no more stimulus needed to encourage more sustainable choices for the customers.
Yeah, it's true that the future of the electric vehicle really depends on the market being able to survive without government subsidies. We aren't there yet, of course. Incentives are still very important, but EV competitiveness is increasing, and that's the goal. And of course, what will really be the game changer is when we reach the price tipping point. Some analysts already estimate that it will be cheaper to drive an electric vehicle versus a vehicle powered by gasoline by 2025. So it's almost tomorrow.
True. Now, would you say that availability of charging stations becomes one of the barriers towards adoption of EV, and infrastructure needs to be there so that drivers feel they aren't going to run out of power, and that range anxiety of being stuck on the road is very high? And or on the other side, having the choice to charge cars at home, which is exactly what you're providing.
Yes, that's really a great point. And homeowners, they really don't want to constantly be going over the energy limits or adding a lot of extra costs on their bills.
So, in order to avoid these kind of issues, such as going over the energy limits, which is, when you charge at home, people could use public infrastructure. And it doesn't seem that it is the case. What are the consumers telling you? And how do you see the proportion of people that are charging at home versus charging at public points?
Yes, you're absolutely right. The majority of the people charge at home almost always overnight rather than using the public charging points because it's cheaper and it's more convenient. In France, this rate is around 90% according to a recent study from the National Association for the Development of E-Mobility. And the figures are similar in other countries across Europe and also in the US.
So indeed, it's a matter of convenience for the homeowner to charge at home. Now, once we're charging it at home, there's a really high impact on the electricity consumption, because what we read is that once you're charging EVs at home, for one EV, your consumption increases by as much as 40%.
Yes, and also electricity consumption in the house is not the only consideration. It's really important that the charging power adapts to the available power in the house to avoid or limit at least upgrade needs. For instance, a standard contract in France allows you to use 6 to 9 kilowatts at the same time. With an electric vehicle charging at 3.7 kilowatt or 7.4 kilowatt, you would get very close to the limit quickly, unless you are charging in the middle of the night during the summertime when general consumption is much lower, but it's not always the case, of course. This is where intelligent charging stations and smart energy management solutions such as Wiser come into play, as they allow you to adapt how you charge your EV so you stay under the limit and your electrical panel doesn't trip. Then you don't have to buy a more expensive tariff, which most of the time you don't even need to have. And this kind of technological solution enables you to limit the increase of your electrical bill. Most EVs come with a handy app on which you can follow your charge status. Integrating all of this into the Wiser app is something we are really excited to be working on with Schneider.
Well, thank you for bringing up Wiser. Indeed, this is exactly the level of integration and the type of energy management that we are bringing to the consumers in their home so that they can make informed choices about the energy consumption as they use the electricity. A single intelligent system to holistically manage the electrical consumption at home will become a must-have as this energy transition gets underway. We have to help homeowners understand this better so that they can do things like charge their car at non-peak times to cost down. Also, where there is an availability of PV or solar infrastructure in the home, one is able to charge the car and of course, use the power in the home at the most optimum time. The good news is that Wiser is able to manage all of that from grid to plug, as we call it. Now, of course, this is okay for a single family home, but when you look at people living in big cities, and especially those in apartment blocks, then it's a different story.
Yes, actually, Zeplug was founded to help drivers overcome the very challenge you mentioned. My partner and I were working for the leading taxi platform in Europe, and more of our taxi drivers were being equipped with electrical vehicles, but they really struggled to charge them as many were living in residential buildings. And this was becoming a bit of a nightmare for them as they needed to get the approval of the owners inside the building. So if other residents don't have an EV, they don't want to pay for the service they are not going to use. And so they do not accept to implement charging solutions. So that's how Zeplug was created. Our innovative business model provides a solution for property managers of collective residential buildings without adding any cost to residents who don't own an electric vehicle. So Zeplug takes full charge of the investment, electrical infrastructure, electrical panel, and only the electric vehicle owner pays for the electric charging station and for the service. No cost for other co-owners. So based on that, we've developed very quickly. We are now working with more than 600 property managers across France, and we enabled 3,000 parking, representing more than 300,000 parking spaces in France. This is for residential buildings. And in 2018, we also launched ChargeGuru, which focuses on individual homes and companies. The business model is quite different for ChargeGuru. We rely on a network of 200 trained electrical companies from very small to large contractors, and we ensure an equivalent and high quality service across France. Our service is available also in Spain and Portugal, and we currently prepare the launch of the service in 4 additional countries. Our development has been accelerated by strong partnerships with car manufacturers that needed a partner who would be able to provide their clients with charging solution in all circumstances, collective residential and also individual houses. And with Zeplug and ChargeGuru, we have the answer.
It's really an incredible story of how you've been able to use your experience to bring a customer pain point and then actually solve it with the business that you've created. Really combining this data intelligence with smart solutions is a very powerful combination that is making a huge difference and enabling people to make those sustainable swaps in their lives to reduce the carbon footprint, no matter where they're living, whether in a single family home or a high-rise building. Smart charging, I would say, is the intelligence that is helping consumers make more sustainable decisions.
Yes, I really agree that the smarter is better when it comes to energy management. It can help define energy priorities between the different elements of the home, like the electric vehicle, of course. And this is no longer a passive approach, but really an active one. There is another big trend towards sustainability, of course, charging station that can anticipate energy transition and also integrate PV and EV all together. I really believe it will become a staple feature of the home of the future. I've learned about the new Wiser Energy Center that you just launched, and that embeds this intelligence to manage both the electricity sources, including solar and the electrical loads. It will be a great addition to the offer we are making, working with homeowners or home builders to propose more sustainable homes. We see a natural complementarity with the EV charging station, of course. And there are many synergies for energy companies like Schneider to work with EV brands at this crucial growth point, all with the net zero goal in mind.
True. And you're totally right, Nicolas, that when we designed the specifications of Wiser Energy, we wanted it to be like the heart of the home electrical system, which is helping you optimize the sources of energy, and in particular, the case of solar, to maximize the usage of energy produced by the panels on the top of your roof. At the same time, optimizing the big loads that you're consuming energy in your house, like the electric vehicle. So ultimately, you consume less and you make full use of the energy that is available to you. And you've said it correctly, that this is only the start of a journey together. And I can't wait to see what more we can accomplish by working. Well, it's been a very fascinating discussion, but I'm afraid that's all we have time for today. Thank you for joining me, and I look forward to the next developments for electric vehicles and how we can help manage that energy consumption in all types of homes that we live in.
Thank you, Manish.
Thank you. And if you've really enjoyed this episode, you can catch up on the whole series so far and subscribe to Climate Change with Net Zero to find out more about how you can create your own paths to net zero. Join me again in months' time, and until then, goodbye.
Thanks for listening to the Climate Change with Net Zero Homes podcast by Schneider Electric. Be sure to subscribe to this podcast on the podcast app of your choice so you are sure you don't miss an episode. If you like this episode, we'd appreciate your rating. For more information on the Climate Change with Net Zero Homes podcast, go to sc.com and look for Homes of the Future or follow us on LinkedIn. The content of this podcast is for informational purposes only, should not be undertaken as financial, economic, legal, business, tax, or investment advice. The information, statements, views, and opinions should not be construed as the provision of advice by Schneider Electric or as an offer to buy or sell any products or services, or to make or consider any investment or course of action.